Rayquaza is known as the protector of the Pokémon world, guarding it from extraterrestrial attacks such as Deoxys' meteorite. It's even stated to have a never-ending appetite for doing what's right. But then why does it let so many calamities arrive on Earth? Is it just slacking? Not quite. There's actually a pretty good reason for its picky nature, and to explain that, we'll start at the time where Rayquaza was first born, and then we'll work ourselves forward into the present-day time, discussing each meteorite that it just failed to stop. Following Arceus' creation of the universe, the Hoenn region was overflowing with raw, primal energy. From this ancient power, two forces materialized. Kyogre, who flooded the world to create the vast oceans, and Groudon, who raised the earth to form these massive continents. However, when the paths of these primordial creators finally crossed, their opposing natures incited a violent clash for dominance that threatened to completely tear the newly formed world apart. Before the planet could be destroyed, a third super ancient Pokémon intervened, Rayquaza. The Sky Dragon descended to quell the chaos, successfully subduing the warring titans and stripping them of their devastating primal strength. Kyogre and Groudon were then banished to deep subterranean caverns, forced into a slumber where they could peacefully sustain themselves on Earth's residual primal energy. With the conflict resolved, Rayquaza took up its eternal post high above the world. To this day, it endlessly patrols the ozone layer, serving as the planet's guardian. Interestingly, this myth raises a compelling question about Rayquaza's own origins. Unlike Groudon and Kyogre, who were formed directly from primal energy to shape the physical Earth, Rayquaza's genesis remains a mystery. It wasn't created in the same manner, but rather as a natural reaction to the clash of the other two titans, almost as a response of sorts. I'd like you to keep that train of thought in mind as we continue through this video. So let's start with the first of many meteors that Rayquaza was just completely unbothered by. According to local folklore, a massive meteor once crashed near Lacunosa town, bringing the fearsome Pokémon Kyurem with it. The myth claims that under the cover of darkness, this monster would summon freezing winds and snatch away both humans and Pokémon to consume them. Terrified by these nighttime raids, the townfolk constructed a massive wall around their home and established a strict curfew, forbidding anyone from venturing outside after dark. Even today, the residents honor this deeply ingrained tradition, locking themselves safely indoors at night behind these towering fortifications, while Kyurem resides in the giant chasm, the very impact left by the meteor. However, the historical accuracy of this tale is called into question within the games themselves. While a skeptical NPC first casts doubt on the story, Pokémon Black 2 and White 2 officially confirm a different origin. Kyurem is actually the empty frozen husk left behind when the legendary twin heroes' singular ancient dragon split into Reshiram and Zekrom. Rather than dismissing the meteor legend entirely, these two seemingly conflicting origins can be neatly woven together. It's highly probable that the original dragon, in its complete form before the historic split, was the entity that actually crashed to Earth inside this meteor. If this synthesis is true, it validates the giant chasm's space-like origins while simultaneously showing us that Reshiram, Zekrom, and Kyurem are all fundamentally extraterrestrial Pokémon. This is also furthermore backed up by the fact that the giant chasm is full of star pieces, comet shards, and even moonstones. There are quite a few details about this meteor that I need to discuss with you, but before that, I'd like to talk to you about a personal hobby of mine. I've been an avid collector of Pokemon cards ever since I was young, but the one thing I never did was get them graded. Why? Well, the process is both long and tedious. The solution? Arena Club, this video's sponsor. Arena Club allows you to open digital cards starting at just $25, which, yes, include grails worth 20 times or more of the pack's price. These cards you can then get delivered straight to your doorstep in their physical form. Each of these packs shows you exactly what's inside of them, alongside each of their pull rates. They also offer some pretty cool specialty packs, like this vintage one here, which, well, you guessed it, only have vintage Pokemon inside. I'm currently waiting for a Salamence version to appear, which thankfully shouldn't take all too long, as these drops rotate every 2 days, and they thankfully notify me of these changes using push notifications. And you know what? Let's just open one right now. It's been a hot minute since I did this, and the Arena Club's been super generous in allowing me to open a Ruby pack, so, like, I'm not going to miss this opportunity to do so. Okay, they got an animation for it. Alright. Venusaur! Wait, is that PSA 10? Hold up, wait, that's a PSA 10! And, as you can see here, this is Arena Club's offer, buy it back from you. which is above the price of the pack I actually purchased, so that's actually pretty good. You also have the showroom feature, which allows you to show your cards in a room, which I will be doing with my Venusaur card over here. Very proud of this one. Your turn to rip. Get 20% off your first slab pack or card. Just go to arenaclub.com/amazed and use code AMAZED. But when did this meteor crash into the planet? Well, we can pinpoint the exact timeline of this crash thanks to the specific inhabitants drawn to the crater. Ancient ice-type Pokémon like Mamoswine and the Vanillite line, because their Pokédex entries explicitly state that their species originated and flourished during the historical Ice Age, their concentrated presence at the impact site serves as a living time capsule of sorts. Thus, at the very least, it arrived at the onset of the Pokémon world's Ice Age, which is also talked about in Regice's Pokédex entry. So if we combine that dex entry with the rough time period in which our real-life Ice Age started, I would say that this meteor fell here about 2.6 million years ago. Now, why didn't Rayquaza stop this meteor? Well, there are two theories for it. First is one I have spoken about a few times, I will admit, and it's the fact that this original dragon could have been created as a sort of fourth member of the creation dragons. Thus, if Arceus actually made this dragon, well then Rayquaza obviously wouldn't stop it. But using a theory to prove another theory is frowned upon, so let's look at it using this angle instead. What did the original dragon do? According to Unovan mythology, the region was originally at war with itself, until about 3,000 years ago, where it was then united by the twin heroes who fought alongside this original dragon. And yes, while later on in time the two brothers did drift apart, and it did also result in this original dragon being torn apart as well, it still united a whole continent and all of its people. It brought peace. Without the dragon's power, there would be no Unova. Do you get where I'm going with this? Well, I won't say it outright yet. After all, there are a lot more extraterrestrial Pokemon that Rayquaza didn't stop, so let's see if we can find a pattern here. Jumping forwards to about 600,000 years into the future, and also heading to a completely different continent, we arrive at another big hole, the Great Crater of Paldea. The exact origins of Terapagos remain shrouded in mystery, but environmental clues suggest a deep connection to a prehistoric meteor impact. Deep within the Area Zero underdepths, a hidden cavern filled with Terra shards and the technical machine for Meteor Beam strongly imply that an extraterrestrial body once struck Paldea. This collision was likely the catalyst that introduced terrestrial energy to the region. The Pokédex notes that Terapagos was driven underground by ancient seismic shifts, which opens up another two compelling theories. The first is that Terapagos was originally a normal earthly turtle. When the meteor struck, the species was buried alive. Over millions of years trapped alongside this celestial debris, the lone survivor absorbed the meteor's latent crystal energy. The second possibility is that Terapagos actually arrived inside the meteor. In this scenario, the historical seismic events were not natural earthquakes, but rather the result of the creature's alien power going haywire. This meteor theory also provides a pretty good explanation for Area Zero's strange flora. In the deepest parts of the underdepths rests a massive crystallized tree bearing a shoot that strikingly resembles the Herba Mystica. It is very likely that the sheer radiation and energy from the meteor impact mutated a normal tree, turning it into the crystallized ancestor of all Herba Mystica found in Paldea today. So why didn't Rayquaza step in here? Why didn't it shatter this meteor before it struck the Earth? Well, look at what the impact left behind. It didn't destroy the Paldea region. Instead, it seeded the land with the Herba Mystica, miracle plants capable of incredible healing, and it also introduced terrestrialization, a phenomenon that enriched the region's ecosystem and completely revolutionized Pokemon battling. So again, from its position in the ozone layer, Rayquaza didn't see a hostile alien invasion, it saw an evolutionary gift. But not all gifts are packaged so neatly. There are also those that bring just as much harm as good. It's time to discuss Eternatus. Around 20,000 years ago, a massive asteroid, described by Peonia as a colossal wishing star, crashed into the Crown Tundra's slippery slope. This impact carved out the expansive cavern known today as the Max Lair, and it also brought the alien Pokemon Eternatus to the world. There it stayed, slumbering for 17,000 years. years. When the creature finally awoke, it unleashed a catastrophic dark storm known as the Darkest Day. This apocalyptic event flooded the region with energy, forcing countless Pokémon into uncontrollable Dynamax and Gigantamax states. The calamity was only halted when two young human heroes, fighting alongside the legendary Pokémon Zacian and Zamazenta, defeated Eternatus and forced it back into hibernation. In the wake of its defeat, shattered fragments of its power rained down across Galar, becoming the artifacts known today as Wishing Stars and even the Wishing Pieces. While the ancient Galarians feared the entity simply known as the Darkest Day, deeper lore actually reveals that Eternatus is not inherently malicious. Both the animated series and the Pokémon Adventures manga suggests that its destructive history was largely due to an inability to control its own power. Once tamed, it can become docile and even act as a regional protector. However, its biological makeup remains highly volatile. The manga even illustrates that exposure to Eternatus' poison can severely warp human behavior, inducing violent and intensely selfish psychological changes upon contact. So how does this tie back to Rayquaza? Why would the protector of the world's atmosphere let a out-of-control, poisonous dragon crash down and eventually cause the apocalyptic Darkest Day? Well, it's because morality is a human concept. I don't think that Rayquaza cares whether or not pain is involved in the process of evolution. Its only goal is to foster it. Eternatus' arrival was undeniably violent, but the Galar particles leaking from its body ultimately became the lifeblood of the entire region. Get it? Lifeblood, since it's Eternatus. Yeah, you're right, that sounded funnier in my head. Anyways, in the modern day era, this extraterrestrial energy was successfully harnessed to provide Galar with an infinite, clean power source. Furthermore, it introduced the Dynamax phenomenon, an evolutionary strength that enriched the bond between trainers and their Pokémon. Rayquaza didn't intervene here because it saw the bigger picture. Despite the initial cruelty and chaos of the Darkest Day, this alien wishing star was a necessary evil that brought a permanent, powerful upgrade to both humanity and Pokémon. Okay, so far we have a dragon that united a war-torn continent, a turtle that gifted the world miracle herbs, and an alien that provided a region with infinite energy. The pattern's becoming a bit more clear now, right? But what about a much quieter extraterrestrial arrival, one that didn't carve out a giant crater, but instead sparked a technological revolution? I'm talking about the mythical Pokémon Melmetal. According to Professor Willow's research, Melmetal was once revered by a secluded community hidden deep within a forested land. Rather than mining the earth for ore, these ancient people crafted their civilization's very first tools using the mysterious liquid metal naturally shed by this mythical Pokémon. Melmetal was the very first source of iron, long before people even started mining for it. And that's also mirrored in our modern-day history. Long before the invention of the blast furnace, the technology traditionally required to smelt this naturally found iron ore in the ground, ancient civilizations were already wielding iron tools. The secret to these early creations, such as the famous dagger found in King Tutankhamun's tomb, came from space. They were forged entirely from meteoric iron salvaged from fallen asteroids. And if this is indeed true, if Melmetal did crash down from space, then it fits our Rayquaza pattern flawlessly. Rayquaza didn't obliterate the meteor because this metal giant brought a gift: metallurgy. Melmetal was what helped push ancient humans out of the Stone Age and into the Iron Age. And now it's time for the main event, Deoxys. Unlike common belief, the one that we see appear in the Delta episode wasn't the first Deoxys to be recorded. There's actually another one, and it's located in the Sevi Islands, specifically Birth Island. And this one we should talk about first, because for some reason, Rayquaza ignored this one. It let this one through. But why? The Pokédex explicitly classifies Deoxys as an alien virus. Why would the protector of the skies let a pathogen land on Earth? Because despite their terrible reputation, viruses are actually fundamental to life. In the real world, ecosystems would completely collapse without them. For example, in the oceans, viruses called bacteriophages kill off dominant bacterial species every single day. This kill the winner principle prevents any single bacteria from taking over. It maintains the biodiversity and releases vital nutrients back into the food web. Most importantly though, they are drivers of evolution. Viruses are a sort of genetic thief. Through horizontal gene transfer, they carry DNA from one organism to another. Believe it or not, mammals wouldn't even exist without an ancient virus. Millions of years ago, a viral infection embedded a gene called syncytin into mammalian DNA, which is the exact gene that allows the development of a placenta. In fact, roughly 8% to 10% of the human genome is made entirely out of ancient viral DNA. So when that first Deoxys arrived in the Sevi Islands, Rayquaza didn't see a threat. It saw an extreme, but potentially miraculous catalyst for Pokémon evolution. It let the space virus land to see what gifts it might bring to the ecosystem. But Rayquaza made a single mistake here. This Deoxys wasn't here to integrate or evolve the planet in any sort of way. It's likely that after it landed, it started calling for backup. Which brings us to our modern day time, the Delta episode and the movie Destiny Deoxys. In the Delta episode, a massive extinction-level meteorite is actively being steered towards Earth by another Deoxys, likely attracted to the distress call from the one in the Sevi Islands. Even in the movie, a second Deoxys arrives to aid another that landed there. Once Rayquaza realized that this alien virus was not here to share its DNA, but rather multiply, disrupt, and conquer, the Sky Dragon's tolerance completely vanished. That is why Rayquaza teams up with a human trainer, Mega Evolves, and completely shatters the Delta episode's asteroid without a second thought. And this brings us back to the mystery of Rayquaza's birth. It was not born to shape the Earth, but instead forged by the Earth as a countermeasure against its own destruction. From that violent genesis came a singular, eternal oath. Let the world grow, but never let it break.